right, good morning, everybody. Thursday morning it is. Bright and early. We're ready to rise and shine, take on the world.
Why don't we play the no more bullshit?
No more You like no more bullshit? You want no more bullshit? You know what? You ask and I'll deliver.
Yay.
I'll find it.
That's what Mama Jane said yesterday. If you ask, you receive.
She's right. I learned that late in life. I was always... Because it's if you don't ask, you won't get. Full stop. And I was always too shy to ask. I was always like, I think I'll just wait my turn. Maybe someone will think of me. Like really,
It'll eventually arrive.
Yeah, I used to be a little bit apprehensive about being Forward, yeah. And then I suddenly realized, if you don't ask, you don't get. That's all there is to it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I won't we won't be fooled again.
Yeah. This is also have learned, because this was all about the coffee yesterday morning. We had the workshop.
Oh, we had a big workshop here. Yeah.
And everybody, Mama Jane says, would you like something to drink?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody says, okay, coffee. And this guy arrives and is like, can I have a cappuccino?
I know.
And then we're all like,
you can get that?
They're cappuccinos?
And then, you know what? Jane comes out with cappuccinos. She made something. But this is something the Bung brought up yesterday, is that, in some offices, they have these fancy machines that can do, at the touch of a button, anything. Your hot chocolate and frappe, latte, macchiato.
Yeah, but those are big offices with
we don't have
corporate pockets.
Yeah, we don't have those machines. We wanted to put in one of those machines, and we thought, well, what are we wasting our time for?
Our office only has one Nespresso machine.
Yeah, and that's enough.
But that's also because there's only 3 people that have coffee.
That's what I made for you this morning. I made Pumi a little Nespresso this morning. It does the work for me.
And I'm in Rena's.
There we go,
cup.
in Rena's mug. Yeah, she's still in Iceland. Look at this picture. I just want to show you this quickly.
Listen, I am jealous.
How pretty is that? Look at that. There's a rainbow coming out of that little town. And she got to see the Northern Lights the other day. Isn't that cool? Oh, that's something I've never seen, and I'm sure I would love to before I...
Bucket list.
Yeah. Before I kick the bucket. Hi, GC. Love the show. Can we have Bajajment on Thursdays as well? I like his youthful perspective on politics. Well, he's here every now and then. We pull him in, I don't want to give him too much exposure at this point.
He
get a bit full of himself.
But he would get full of himself. Bajajment is amazing.
Well, we don't want him
We do love him here on a Thursday.
Yeah, we do.
And we have extended the invitation to him for Thursdays.
Absolutely. No, he'll be here. But today we have Canthan popping back in after 7. And we've also got a guest on Zimbabwean elections, because that's a big story, It's a big story. And you saw all these, like Fikile Mbalula and Cyril Ramaphosa all went over there to congratulate Emerson.
Of the 54 presidents on the continent, there were 3
that
showed up.
Only 3.
And ours is one of the shameful 3. But anyway.
Who were the others? I mean, do we know?
Yes. I think Mozambique.
Oh, okay. Well, they're next door. They have to.
Ain't nobody got to do nothing but stay black and die. Well, at least me.
Stay black and die.
At least
and what's the other
me.
one? So Mozambique, South Africa, and? Probably somewhere like Burkina Faso or something.
I don't
because they don't get a lot of invites.
Burkina Faso. I don't remember. Well, when they've got their own problems. Woo!
West Africa, oh yeah, big time.
Lapia in the ECOWAS.
Don't forget,
going down.
We get an update every week from JJ Cornish. And, not every week, every second week. And
I thought JJ should be one of our Thursday.
He's always keen, and we can have him.
Woo-hoo.
We can have him. We get him back here.
Especially at this particular moment. I mean, there's so much going on. Tinubu, the new president of Nigeria.
Yes, and
he's also got lots of his own problems there.
And we were talking for 2 days in a row about Gabon, which is just such a basket case, because Gabon has now been taken over by a military junta.
It's the season.
It's the season.
It's
what a
the
place.
season for the
what a time
coups.
to be alive.
It's the season for the coup shots.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually, we talked about this at our office the other day, and I actually thought I'm going to spend a little bit of time and try and see if there's a cycle.
Of coups?
Cycle, yeah.
You almost compare them and see what season they take part. They take place in.
And see how long it takes before there's, another rash of. Because it's been a very long time. I mean, we haven't heard the word junta on the news.
They always used to use it with respect to Myanmar, remember?
Mm-hmm.
They used to use it there because of
and in South America,
Aung San Suu Kyi. Remember, she was always fighting the military junta. Now she's like part of it. Talk about freedom fighter turned into part of the problem. So Pumi was telling me about this WhatsApp group she's on. And we are all on. I'm on 100 groups. I'm on a group at the moment trying to figure out. I've got something on Saturday, and I've put everyone else who's on the group onto this. Or everyone else who's coming on this group, right? But I don't want to be the admin because it's not my. I didn't organize this, and yesterday I'm like, after I created this group, I had to create the group because all of these people just.
Then you are the admin.
Well, okay.
If you created the group, then you are the admin.
So anyway, I said to them, any ideas for what we're going to do before, how we're going to get there, and what we're going to do after? Radio silence. Nobody has anything to say. There's like 10 people on this group. So I go, eventually yesterday and I've had a busy day. I mean, like yesterday was not a do nothing day. I was busy. In fact, this whole week
was a busy day.
I haven't had a chance to touch sides this week. I've hardly paid any attention to all the usual admin stuff that I have to do. And so that's going to have to wait until the weekend. Anyway, I don't know. Somewhere around 2-3 o'clock, I got pissed off and I'm like, well, don't kill each other in the rush to come up with any ideas, everybody. And then suddenly they all spring into action. They're like, oh, yeah, no, I was just thinking. Some of them. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, so for better or worse, I'm the admin. But this admin on your group. So Pumi's on this group and she says that the admin is a fascist.
And there is no other word to describe the man.
Yeah?
He is undoubtedly... I don't know when we were invited into the group, he sent on a separate WhatsApp all of the rules.
Oh, the rules. Yeah.
The rules.
Is it a long list?
It is a long list. It was quite a long list, just starting with spend the next couple of days just observing.
Oh, right. So he was orientating you. Is that what he was doing? He was doing an orientation. This is a hell of a group. How many people are on here?
There's about 300 people in this group.
Oh, my God. All right.
But it's
wow.
But I don't know all the people in the group. And
you never do.
Every now and again, I can figure out who a person is because of the way that they're talking about particular things, right?
Oh, so you have to play like detective a lot of the time.
Because it's me. I don't know if I think other people don't. I think, and there's obviously now been lots of talk around the government being broke.
Oh,
there's lots of talk, and then suddenly somebody said maybe the minister can shed light on this. He is on the group after all.
Oh, so Godongwana is on there. So then it's important. Okay, so
that poor guy.
In other words,
he doesn't have to come here and account.
But you sort of do. But you sort of do. Well, yes, he does.
Why?
Yes, because
he must go account there in Parliament.
You must account to the people, Pumi. And if you're on that group, you are our representative. You're our MP in that Parliament. So
I just laugh.
If it's a group that big and there are ministers and things on it, then there need to be rules.
Why?
Otherwise, because I've seen on these neighborhood groups, when there's a ward councillor on there, they get so much shit. Like our ward councillor, I don't know if she's had like some sort of mental breakdown.
Oh no!
But this poor woman, she works so hard, and sometimes she gets it right, sometimes she gets it wrong. Like any human being, she's not perfect.
I love our neighborhood group that's got our ward councillor.
People are so abusive, like, oh, no power again. For fuck's sake, no water again. And really, we have had a couple of days. And of course, Tshwane and like
disarray.
disarray because the strike is still going on and the mayor is trying to sort that out. And I don't know why we don't just fire people, especially when it comes to collecting
But
trash.
Twana did.
They must
Isn't it?
fire
Oh, no,
all-
no. They didn't fire people. They just docked their salary.
They dock
this
their
month.
salary, but they should.
300 people as well.
Yeah,
312
they should
people's
fire
salaries.
them. We've got
Fired.
millions of unemployed people in this country. If you give them something to do, even if picking up the trash, it's not a glorious job. But you know what? There are people who are hungry who would like to have some money. Give them a job. How
But-
many people do you think you can add to a WhatsApp group? Maximum size.
I have no idea.
There's a maximum.
Really?
1,024. It's been increased. The previous limit was 512.
Wow.
Now you can add 1,024 people to a WhatsApp group.
But so this is the thing about this admin. And so you have to be quick. So it can be a very busy group, especially when there's something very topical and
Mhm.
lots of people have lots of opinions about it. And he will delete your comment if it doesn't adhere to the group.
So he just goes and deletes your comment. Because I mean, I don't mind if people delete their own comments.
if it's a comment that is not quite adhering to kind of the standard. Also, he doesn't want emojis. No emojis. No.
Oh,
Okay, don't. It's a serious group. This is a serious group. With
No
serious
emojis.
people.
he'll delete your comments. It's like his little fiefdom.
But he is committed to it. If you do
But you
not,
have-
I have days where I'm just too busy, and so I only see it at the end of the day. Or
But do you go back and read? Because with 300 people on there must be
listen,
chaos.
Baba, you have to go back and read. But what made me think about him this morning is because 2 days ago there was quite a flurry
Mhm.
of comments and around two things.
Oh.
One around the government being broke.
But how could they be
And
broke?
the
They just had a
second-
winning tax season.
These are all of the things these are the contentious issues
Jesus.
expatiated on the group. And it's also got
Mm.
people who have that kind of language.
Wow.
I woke up and there were about 10 people who'd been removed.
Ooh.
No, this guy
It's
does
like
not
it's-
fuck around.
It's like his kingdom.
He does not.
All right. But I wonder, if you made the admin of a group with 300 people in it, that's a full-time job.
I think he started the group.
I think that's a full-time job.
No.
Yes, Pumi. 300
No.
people. I'm on a group with two friends of mine. It's the three of us on a group. It's hardly even a group. It's like what would you call it? It's like a chance gathering, right? I mean, this thing, because they're in Canada and the US, I wake up sometimes to a flurry. I have to scroll to see what was going on. And sometimes I don't have notifications on it. You can't have notifications on that group. You'll be ping, ping, pinging
Hi,
the whole
Baba.
time.
Hi, Baba. You need if you don't have the notifications,
No,
then
Pumi.
you will miss
How do you
out.
have time?
Listen, it's not so much.
You were in
that
a
I have
2.5
time.
hour workshop with me yesterday. How do you have time to be on a group like that with 300 people?
It's not so much that you have time. It's just that really and truly, ukuthanda iindaba zabantu. Yabona, just liking to be like a liker of things and the news. I can't. I have to. It's important to me that I know, especially because I'm trying to figure out who all the people are, right?
Yeah.
When I was invited to the
Oh, that's
group,
quite fun.
There
Do you
were-
go and look at profile pictures?
and most of them don't have profile pictures because it's also like
Mm.
old people.
Oh, okay. They don't know how to upload a picture. Wow.
There's a guy who is very active on this group whose name is in Chinese. You know that Chinese script. I don't know why. His name is just
Probably
Chinese.
President fucking Xi.
So when
You got to be careful.
Listen, but the way this guy writes and the things that he writes about, and it's a window for me. This group is a window into a part of people's lives that are not part of my everyday life. So when we were invited into the group, I really was interested in knowing not necessarily who the people are, but what this demographic and type of people, because it's got like some high-powered people in it.
Apparently a lot of big decisions are made on groups like these. I mean, like there's a cabinet one, which we know Cyril has all the ministers. There's a journalist one. In Hollywood, there are all kinds of like A-listers who all have each other on a group, and they like send each other memes and jokes and things.
Do you think all the people that were in the LA concert, because we've been seeing lots of the Beyonce LA concert, right? And after she sent out the thing that people should wear silver, I don't know why. They have been.
I pay no attention to Beyonce.
Do you think it was on a WhatsApp group?
Probably.
Because I've been wondering.
I wonder if there were a whole lot of people. You heard about that Burning Man disaster, right? Sweet Jesus. You know, so Lebang brought it up yesterday on the show, and I've just been completely mesmerized by the story. I don't know why. Maybe because I was meant to go to Africa Burn in the year that COVID hit. And so I'd bought my ticket and everything, and obviously it was canceled. And I can't
imagine you at any of these things.
I would hate it. So, I mean, I've put it away. It's not something I'm going to do. And then they did invite me last year or this year. I can't remember. And then there was this list of things that you got to do. One day you've got to like clean the toilets. Next day you have to cook the food for the whole. I was like, please, what is this? Imagine. First of all, it's not cheap, right? This doesn't just happen. People have to take along supplies. Then you're not meant to take money because you trade things. You don't. It's like a communist ideal, but it's obviously a disaster, and that's proved by Burning.
And you have to be. It's some kind of communist idea that requires you to be super rich. To participate.
Well, this is what happens. So you've got people who are true hippie communists who will go there with like their underpants and a bottle of gin and weed, and then they'll sit in the sun and
underpants and a bottle of gin.
That's all they want. That's all the communist really needs, right? And then then you got these super rich people, and they pitch up with this ready-made turnkey glamping vibe, and you're like, how do they both figure they belong there?
The one belongs.
The communist.
The other's just a visitor. The other's just a visitor.
I don't know.
You know, there's that one of Kendrick Lamar's lyrics in one of his songs is, "You're not a gangbanger, you're a tourist." You're just like, you want to be this thing.
Chris Rock was there at Burning Man, and he had to hitchhike.
Tourist
with some people to get out of there. So apparently they had to walk 5 miles. That's not that far. Some people in South Africa walk 5 miles every day to work. Okay, and they do it in rain and in shine and we have bigger thunderstorms than they had in the Nevada desert. Trust me. They had like between half an inch and an inch of rain. So that's that much at most. Okay.
I just saw
and these people were carrying on like
mud.
You would think they'd crossed the Red Sea with Moses. They were so full of themselves. These nobodies, these cushy, just pandered to, mollycoddled, upper middle class and rich Americans. They're like, you ain't believe I had to walk 5 miles in a half an inch of mud and rain.
So.
It's so pathetic. And you'd think that they had just fought in World War III.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unbelievable.
That Burning Man thing was just shame.
Oh, shame. Gene Andrews says, I don't know why, but I can't listen to the show anymore. I'm not relating to the content anymore. Bye-bye, Gene. Nice to have had you all this time. Congo Chris says, Pumi, in communism, only the wealthy oligarchs enjoy the system. The blood of the proletariat oils the gears of the economy. That's exactly right.
Woo! That's Congo. That's a lot.
That's a lot to take in. Anyway, I just, it strikes me as so bizarre that what started off as a hippie thing, it was like, let's go into the desert, let's commune with nature. Let's make an idol like Moses and his Israelites did. Well, Moses didn't. He came and destroyed the idol, right? The golden calf. And then let's burn it, which ultimately happens. That's the whole idea. And there's art and there's all these like hippies and they're all dancing around. There's music and there's drugs and there's orgies and God knows what else happens there.
I'm trying to remember the first time I ever heard about Burning Man. And it was a friend of mine who's a South African, and what I don't know, was in advertising, I think. He and his girlfriend went.
Oh, yeah.
And they are totally the kind of people that you expect to see at Burning Man.
Right.
Even then, he was a little like far out there. I think he was possibly one of the first people I ever met that was really far out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, like a proper hippie.
Nice, conservative township girl. This was like, and he is the one, and he had just come back. And it was his explanation of everything. I do remember. I'm trying to think of I do remember thinking, this is outrageous.
Oh, yeah.
This is outrageous. You spent money to go do what? and so I got interested in knowing about this thing and have watched it deteriorate over the years into a drug-fueled orgy, basically.
Yeah,
for super rich, spoiled brats.
So, is that any better than like some quasi-religious nature pagan festival thing? I mean, what's the difference, really? If you're going to pay to play, or if you're going to go along because you want to, have your art displayed in the desert and take drugs, what's the difference, really? It's recreation either way. It's just recreation. Like I don't have a problem with the rich people glamping, and I don't have a problem with the hippies in their underpants. But it's just I don't think it's for me. I mean, the minute I saw the list, like you had this list of rules for your WhatsApp group, I'm not on that WhatsApp group. I'm not on the Africa Burn or Burning Man WhatsApp group, because when you see the list of things you have to comply with, I'm like, nah, forget the meta discussion about your values, right? And I don't know that I have hugely noble values, but I certainly don't want to be communing. That's not my idea of, the last thing I want is to commune. I hate that word. I immediately see like a bunch of layabouts all just sponging off of the system. It's not my thing. So I would hate it. I would be very uncomfortable. Plus
this is why
no running
I
water,
imagine
electricity.
Even at Africa Burn.
I can't even go camping.
Yeah.
I can't camp.
No.
It would be horrible for me. I would not enjoy that at all. Tents and things. Ryan was saying,
remember when the Fire Festival fiasco, which was, kind of trying to not be as far out there as Burning Man, but kind of a similar. Even when I first read about that thing, I was like, this is going to be a shit show. And I was right.
Ryan was telling us about Opikopi or something, where some guys, they were at the festival and a bunch of other dudes just hijacked their whole tent.
What do you mean?
They just took everything. These guys got back to where their tent was, and there wasn't
gone.
a tent. It wasn't like they were drunk or high and didn't know where they'd actually set it up.
How sure are we about that?
Well,
how sure are we about
it was
that?
Gone, and I'm like, ugh. No, it's not a thing. Hey, I don't know. Anyway,
that's crazy.
I can't wait. Mig says I can't wait for the Cliff Central Festival. Well,
we're not festival people, are we? We're not festival people.
Although I don't mind a day drinking festival thing.
Day drinking, springtime, summer.
With people. I've been to a couple of those. I like that. But as long as like there's a plan. I arrive and then I have I have a car to fetch me, not an Uber, because you never get those at those things. You need to pre-book your transport and you get out of there before the rush, before everyone else tries to get out.
So it's like a delicious festival type thing.
No. I'm not into the food thing at all. No, I'm talking about drinking with friends. You go out in the day, you've got like music, there's a show, there's a crowd. It's a vibe. That's the thing.
That sounds like a concert, Gareth.
What's sort of like a concert, except they're DJs rather than performers.
Okay, so that does sound exactly like Delicious Festival.
I don't know what Delicious Festival. I've never been to Delicious Festival. I thought there was a food thing.
Yeah, it's got some food.
Yeah,
the food has become such a.
It's amazing when I'm if I'm actually taking the drinking seriously, because I only drink tequila, and I don't need to eat. I don't think about eating.
Really, when you're drinking, you don't think about
I
eating.
don't get hungry. The next day, I'm like, whoa, I could eat the whole house. Then that's when you order those terrible takeaways. But on the day of the drinking, don't think about food at all.
Carlos, you're right. The Cliff Central Festival will be an afternoon of music, tequila,
and political chatter.
No, I don't know if it'll be political chatter. It'll be like chatter.
You know the funny
different
thing?
Groups of different people having chatter.
Yeah, I mean, like Pumi and I, for example, we do the Burning Platform every week. We hardly ever talk politics outside of the show, though.
Yeah, we don't.
It's really the only time we talk about politics. And I feel like that would be the same with if we had to do a festival with all the people who listen to us. Listen, it would be a big deal. We could have a lot of people. We could do it here in this garden. You do a big party here. Spring.
Listen.
Let's wait for the sun to come out in all its glory around this Pablo Escobar pool arrangement. Tell you what.
The garden is, I'm still rooting for an Easter egg hunt of some sort.
Yeah.
Lebang didn't get it together this year.
Don't blame Lebang, because we were looking for.
Yeah, because I tasked her with it.
Yeah, well, I was also disappointed in that. All right, so listen, Congo Chris says we could call the CC Festival Benning Man, and then we could have as the guest of honor Benning and Clemeza. By the way, poor Ryan, he was trying so hard yesterday. He was desperately trying to get Benning and Clemeza for us.
No.
Yes, he was. You didn't know this? Yes, and Ace Makashule. They are the talk of the town for about 5 minutes.
So
what if they came in here?
There was also an announcement, supposed announcement yesterday afternoon.
About what?
By, I think, what was his name? That was the former premier of the Northwest. He was going to have a presentation of some sort yesterday.
Supra Mahumapelo.
I think Supra was having some kind of announcement. I thought he was going to announce that he's joining ACT.
So what did Supra say?
I don't know. So here's the thing, right? So after a workshop after a workshop like yesterday, and you know this, I facilitate lots of workshops.
Yeah.
But workshops are an extremely physically draining and mentally draining experience.
Well, you take control. You lead the conversation. You try and direct people. Yeah, I've seen you do it.
So when I host a workshop, and yesterday was so super. Yesterday was quite a hectic workshop because it actually had lots of big ideas, and there were lots of big.
It's not a small scale thing.
There were lots of big brains in the room. So yesterday afternoon, I was like quarter tank.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't engage my WhatsApp group. I couldn't check what they were talking about yesterday. I couldn't, and I couldn't.
Well, that's where I step in for you.
So I don't know what he talked about.
So Supra Mahumapelo said yesterday that he is staying put in the ANC.
Suga.
That was his whole announcement. If you were hoping for something incredible,
yes,
that's all he has to
joining ACT.
Yeah. Just like his tenure, he probably didn't deliver anything, says JP. Yeah, spot on. That's all we can say.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I told you.
That's
Gareth.
all. That was his announcement was nothing's changed. Imagine calling a press conference to announce nothing.
I am telling you, there is somebody making a lot of Tom out of this press conference business.
But
what the fuck?
But who's even thinking about Supra Mahumapelo right now?
Bona, we saw it, didn't we? It's being carried by some news agency.
So the media have made it important. It's not. I really wish that we could just get the editors at various publications and media businesses, I'm talking mainstream media businesses, to realize that they are creating the monster. Why are you paying attention to Supra Mahumapelo?
So last week after, and when we came onto the show...
Sorry, who's interviewing Mbazi Mashilo or Matthews Posa, who used to be premiers as well? Who's talking to Didi Mabuza, who used to be our deputy president? Who's talking to him? Who's talking to...
But they're not having press conferences. That's why no one's talking to them.
Daweni Mahlangu.
Hey.
Lies Mahlangu. Who's talking to him?
No, because they're not having press conferences. If they had a press conference, however,
if they had a press conference, what you should do is we should take the names of the journalists who pitch up at those press conferences and say, what are you doing?
So taking the names of people who show up at those press conferences after the fire, which happened early hours of last Thursday. So we didn't talk about it on the show.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, guys. And during the day, we watched the horror show that it was. And on Friday and Saturday, we also watched an endless conveyor belt of politicians, not just from the ruling party, but all of them. Him and Mashaba.
Oh, they all pitched up to have their say. Yeah.
The only person, and I can't believe this because he's such a wonderful media hog. He will show up when there's media. He always shows up. The only person who did not show up there, who should have shown, Panyaza.
He
was there.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you say media hog, I'm like him.
Begitele.
Well, what's he going to add?
It doesn't matter. Whenever there's a crime scene of any kind, that's what Thabo Mbeki said at one of his things a couple of weeks ago, that if his boots were stolen, Begitele would show up. But Begitele didn't show up. He was, I'm still astounded at the fact that he didn't show up.
Such a clown show.
But there were so many journalists with their microphones in everybody's face and all of that. And Ridi Tlapi, who has now moved to Maryland.
Yeah, she's in America. She's close to Washington.
In America.
And she's as happy as can be. And she's removed herself from the ugliness of...
But she hasn't really.
Of Twitter. No, she comments from time to time.
She went off.
About
the way in which the editorial around this fire was being handled. She went off. On Twitter, they call her the editor of the nation. She
would be good at that. Yeah.
Oh, but she went off. And it created a ripple.
Is that why she was trending? Because I saw her name come up. And I thought, oh, no, I don't. Because usually it's just character assassination.
But that's what what she was actually calling out is the editorial decisions that are being made.
Yeah, these people get led by the nose.
But why are you allowing? Because there were blatant lies, politicians lying. Why is there no context? Why is there no? And the pushback from some of the local journalists, also complaining about the juniorization of the newsroom and but it was such a fascinating conversation to watch because that's what she was calling out. She was just saying there is a need for editors in the newsroom to make a call that says, this is bullshit and we're not going to go with this.
I think journalists' days are numbered. Especially bad or average ones. I think people who can't give you real news, as in reporting, not opinion. Opinion, dime a dozen now, because everyone on Twitter thinks that they're economist. They do. But actual reporting, valuable factual reporting, valuable. That'll stay. But journalism, from the point of view of writing a story with a little bit of info, a bit of context, a bit of opinion, AI.
Yeah.
Telling you. And Reedy's right. I mean, I don't see much, especially in this country. Which journos do you really trust? I mean, you can count them on one hand, And as someone said to me a while ago, there is a revolving door between a lot of these people in journalism and NGOs. So and even in government, they go into government.
There was a lot of so the conversation as it does on Twitter, no nuance or whatever, but always the opinions of various people and what they see and almost all of the people who were kind of siding with Reedy about it was they felt that the reason why the journalism has deteriorated in this way is because a lot of these journalists are trying to get a job
in government
to be a spokesperson of a minister.
And it's happened, right? We can name them.
Which is, a good journalist in a good publication with really with incisive insight and earns so much more than a government spokesperson. So why that is there?
I did see this from Tabo. Who I love this. He says, Supra is a coward. Act now and join ACT. That's so great. That is so great.
So listen, it's been, there's never a dull day in South Africa. Not on the news.
No.
Not on the socials.
No, it's never boring.
And not on the WhatsApp groups.
No. I do love it. By the way, I've just on that note, I've got something funny to show you here. A couple of videos. I try to find these things that amuse me.
And you hope they amuse
They
me?
might or might not amuse everyone else. Sometimes it's just stuff I find funny. I don't do a whole lot of like deep diving and try to figure out, is this the right thing for the show? A lot of the time it isn't. Who knows? But I did see this, which I thought was pretty entertaining. The Bajajes, which we've been talking about quite a lot on the show. Those Bajajes, those little cars. So this was posted on, I think, Twitter. Guess who was the transport minister who signed off on the importing and licensing of these Bajajes, which are now being impounded and chased off the roads by the Metro Police? Yeah, there was a row of them. I don't know, like 10, 20 of them that one of our listeners sent a video next to William Nicol or Jan Smuts or one of them. They were pulling them off on the side of the road and impounding them, putting them on trucks and taking them away.
Why?
Bajajes. I don't know. They say they're roadworthy.
Maybe they haven't received the memo.
Haven't got a license. There's always some government thing. But these Bajaj cars, which every time I see one, I want to start laughing. And the Bang was saying yesterday that some of them are driven by big, large guys. Where's the space for the passenger? I still haven't received an answer on whether or not the passenger sits behind or next to.
I've seen passengers behind.
They sit behind.
Yeah. I've seen passengers in the back.
It's about as wide as a motorbike.
Listen, the way these things are getting smaller, one of these days you're going to call for an Uber X and they're going to send someone on a skateboard.
But guess who was the transport minister who signed off on these things?
Dun, 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 dun.
Fikile Mbalula.
Yeah. So
surprise.
Somebody last week.
We should start calling them buxes, not Bajajes.
But somebody last week made a comment on how much I hate BRICS. I don't know if I hate BRICS per se, but I don't know if we've got the best negotiators at the table when it comes to how we can.
All you said in defense of you can use your own words, but I thought what you said, and this is what I heard, is that we're not getting a good deal.
Well, look at this Bajaj. Is one of the examples, right? This entire thing is assembled, is created and assembled in India and put on a ship to come here. So whatever the long tail value,
we're not recipients of that long tail value.
All we are is a market for them to ship these shitty things to. That's what we are.
Yeah. Yes. And we're just a market, right? We're just a market.
So it's just
Okay, here's a Bajaj video for you.
You. Okay. Taking in the keys. Check. You might roll it back. Yeah. Gonna roll it back. You. And there's security there.
Is this taking a video?
You.
You niggas are dumb. The cameras are right here.
Dog.
They don't care.
They don't care. It's the taxi guys, bro.
Oh, these taxi drivers.
Yeah, it's an association.
I think that's appalling.
And
that people can do damage to property and get away with it. I mean,
I saw on the comments when this video was put out, one of the people who commented on it is the spokesperson of one of the taxi associations.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying so hard to say, we condemn criminality. And then with the forked tongue, also saying, but these things shouldn't be on the road. I'm like, y'all have the same problem. And where is your minister? Where is Begitov? Where are the police?
Yeah,
Where
exactly.
is the-
Tracy says South Africa becomes the first reject outlet for China and India. It does feel like it. But did you see how easily those guys bent that window out of shape? And I mean, they take a rock and throw it into this is
criminality.
This is criminality at its very worst. These people must be arrested. And these taxi associations, I would like to see Bajajs take their business away, frankly, even if they are horrible little cars.
This was so irritating and so infuriating to watch.
Yeah.
There's so many things about this video that I just like.
Yeah, I don't know. Just the clear destruction here is also just something that bothers me. People who have no respect for other people's property can't then have a problem with people not wanting to do business with them.
There's someone in the comments who was in a Bajaj.
Oh my God. Okay, hang on. Where? Where?
What's this? Mixie.
Migs says, okay, the driver I was with, to clear a speed bump, he had to come to an almost dead stop to clear it. But Migs, please, for God's sake, tell me.
Tell us more about your experience.
Yes. Do you sit behind or next to? Do you? What does it cost? How fast can it go?
And what did you ask for?
Right.
Is there, when you hail because it's a Bolt, it's part of the Bolt suite.
Okay.
Is there like a thing in the Bolt that says, like Uber X, is there one that says Bolt Q for the cute, Bajaj cute?
Conga Chris says rightly, if the taxi riots in Cape Town last month taught us anything, it is that the taxi unions are a protected political class who operate outside of the law. That's right. That's right. There's no two ways about it. Meg says also no suspension. The driver has provided a cushion for comfort. Otherwise, what you'll get piles and kidney problems.
What are you sitting on?
What are you sitting on, a metal, like a park bench? What is going on there? Oh my God.
Mix, why did you change it? Mix, I didn't know that was you because we haven't seen you commenting in a long time. But I think you need to go back and you need to give us a more detailed commentary. You need to tell us what you asked for when you put it into was it a surprise?
Ryan has
a surprise, the cute.
Here's another Bajaj video for you. This is all over the place. Listen to the sound of what happens when it gets turned back up. It was on its side. Apparently, you can just easily push them over. Shame, man.
And
shame.
Oh my God.
What a silly car. I mean, part of me is like,
I want to know if you ask for it specifically or if it's just a surprise that this is the car that arrives for you. Like sometimes you get a Toyota and sometimes you get a Polo. Sometimes you get a Bajaj. These are important questions that need answers.
Surprise! And you're like, oh shit! And people are going to see you. People are going to see you arrive in it.
Sometimes it's an Almira. Sometimes it's a Polo. Sometimes it's a Bajaj.
So Lebang uses a tuk-tuk from time to time, and she's not bothered by it. She knows the guy. She's got his number on speed dial. She can call him when she needs a lift. She says it's cheaper, it's better. I don't know if I'd be able to use a Bajaj. I would just be laughing the whole way. So maybe that's why I should.
Apparently, it's actually classified not as a car,
as a motorcycle,
as a compact quad.
Oh, like a quad bike.
Yep, like a quad.
So technically, then you should have to wear a helmet.
I wonder then if interesting.
Oh, it's so wild.
It is a little wild.
Megs, we don't use the WhatsApp number very much anymore, but you can always email us at contact@cliffcentral.com or just send it to Ryan.
We need
Ryan at cliffcentral.com.
We actually need details here.
Yeah, we want to see. He's got videos he wants to send us.
In
Okay.
the tuk-tuk. So in the tuk-tuk in India, all those many years ago, in the tuk-tuk in India, it is an unsettling experience. I won't lie.
You've been there and you've been in one.
In Mumbai, Baba.
Yeah, tell us more. Tell
in
us
the
more.
Mumbai chaos.
Go on.
And there's lots of chaos on the roads of Mumbai.
Yes.
But it's an unsettling experience. You just have to, it's a lot like being in the taxi from Para to Pimville, right? The thing is a little, it's rickety, but you are on your own. It's, it's you and the driver. You're not like touching sides with, it's not a 4-4 situation.
Right.
You don't get into the thing with other strangers. It's just the two
you.
of you.
Just you, yeah.
You and whoever you're traveling with, or you on your own, and you're at the back, and the driver's in the front. But it is an unsettling experience. The tuk-tuk also, because it's got no windows and whatever. And this I'd be interested to know about the Bajaj. Like, do you wind down the windows?
We've got to just get one. Can't we just get one and you and I do a video, we go and we explore a Bajaj outside. It's like this mystery thing that neither of us, we've seen them.
I have seen so many.
Jason says, I wonder how the Bajaj would perform at Euro NCAP crash tests. Not well.
But if it's a quad cycle,
then it's not allowed on the highways. You definitely can't take these things.
I have seen it on the M2.
No.
I have seen it on the M2. Lapa side. I have.
Oh my God. I traveled in a tuk-tuk in Mumbai, says Mike. They swarm like cockroaches disturbed by a spray of doom, missing each other by millimeters. I thought I'd seen my last days. Yeah.
Although in Mumbai, just crossing the road is the same kind of experience. Because
same as Lagos.
Crossing the road, being in the safest mode of transport as far as I am concerned, and the most consistent is the train.
Yeah, because you know where the tracks go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have female-only coaches as well.
Oh, in India?
In India, yeah.
Okay, that's clever.
They have female-only coaches.
Yeah, because the men are such bastards, like everywhere in the world.
You know where the tracks are.
All right. So can we get off the Bajaj? That's becoming like a theme. I mean, people are obsessed with this stuff. I'm obsessed with it, but we've got to move on.
Somebody say, okay, just one last thing.
It's always going to be one last.
Fuel.
What do you use paraffin for a Bajaj? Methylated spirits. What do you use? I think it's petrol. It's got to be petrol.
I don't know.
All right. So just one serious thing quickly. I am up to here with being lied to about like COVID and shit. I don't want to keep bringing it up. People say that it sounds like a broken record, but I do not want this to happen again. We were bullshitted. Here, here's who was lying. Watch
First of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down.
And the record will show, Neil, that we didn't recommend shutting everything down.
I recommended to the president that we shut the country down. And that was a very difficult decision because I knew it would have serious economic consequences, which it did.
Lies, 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 Dr. Fauci. This guy should go to jail. He should go to jail. And they're trying it again. There are now schools in America because they're going into winter. Yep. There's some schools in America that are saying, and universities, you got to mask again. The masks that we now know did nothing.
Almost everything I've been seeing.
Jill Biden has
CEOs
COVID.
want everybody back at the office.
Yeah.
That's what I've been seeing a lot of. Everybody back at the office. Even Zoom wants all its stuff back.
I hear you, but this is what's happening. But
nobody wants to go back to the office.
They're reviving this dead horse, and they're going to try and flog it again, just in time for the U.S. elections, because that was the last time it was a thing. Coincidence? I think not. So I'm just saying, be aware, people, and do not tolerate any of this shit. If they tell your children to mask, do not give your child a mask. Send them to school. If they put a mask on your child at school, have them arrested by the police for assault. Go all the way. Do not let and if they stop me at the shop and they say, you're not allowed to come in here without a mask, I will order online from a different shop. I will take my business elsewhere. I'm not putting up with this shit again. I'm sorry. And they will go after the soft people first, the ones who they think they can push around. And if they're going to try this in America, they will try it here again. Think about how powerful it made these politicians feel again. We're going to tell you what you can buy, what you can eat, what you can wear, where you can go.
Listen.
Middle fingers, everybody at the same time.
Here at home, I think the problems we are facing are a lot.
So this is not a thing.
I think that
okay?
this...
All right. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I'm not putting up... I'm just saying...
So much going on.
I'm not going to put up with any of this the second time around. I have had it up to here with this nonsense. So I'm not going to fall for it. And then I saw this. I thought you'd appreciate this, Pumi. This is completely on an unrelated issue.
I can't swim.
You can't what?
I can't swim.
How old are you?
6. Help him, he can't swim.
Time he learned. Everybody should swim. Just reach out in front of you and grab a handful of water. Pull it back towards you. Not too fast. That's the way I learned.
I did it, Emerado, I did it.
Good.
Well, how will he get back?
Swim.
Well, he might drown.
Well, then you go get it.
Well, I can't swim either.
Run. All right. I love that for so many reasons. Isn't that great? I love that. That's so good.
Oh my God. That was a little...
I can't swim. Just picks
That's a
him up,
very big 6-year-old.
throws him right into the water.
It's a very big 6-year-old.
By the way, the I can't swim thing. So, Princess Charlene of Monaco is coming to South Africa next week. And she, as part of one of the things that she's doing to help, it's one of her charities, she is teaching young people all over South Africa to swim, because we always have these drownings when there are floods, people falling into dams and lakes and rivers, and then they can't swim. And part of what she's doing, because she used to be a swimmer, is to get young people in rural areas, townships, to learn to swim. So she's got these academies that teach people how to swim. And that's a good thing.
Wow.
Right? Because we can't afford to have anybody drowning.
Yes,
it's such a stupid thing.
From the East Rand. When is she coming?
Another person from the East Rand. She's here, I think, next weekend.
Oh.
Yeah.
She coming to the studio?
I don't know, but I'm going to try and organize an
Ryan.
interview. Yeah, we're on it. Don't worry. We're on it. But yeah, I remember you learned to swim because you have to.
Well, I think, you see, growing up in Soweto, there were like 3 big swimming pools. Now there are swimming pools everywhere.
Yeah.
Like the community centers, there's swimming pools everywhere. My mom and a group of her friends actually, because there's free swimming lessons at the community centers. And my mom and her friends went and they started learning how to swim.
I love that.
Last year.
So at what age?
I don't even know how old my mom is.
60-something.
63.
Great. And are they enjoying? Are they doing
She
water?
loves it.
Are they doing water aerobics?
No, but swim. I remember when she took a video of herself swimming around the perimeter of the pool. She sent it to the family group to say, I never thought I could float. Look at this.
There we go. But isn't that nice?
She even posted it on her Facebook.
And this is a hot country. In summer, it gets damn warm. It would be nice if we had more municipal pools and places. I mean, listen, if there were municipal pools, you'd need the municipality to look after them. So I'm not saying that's always the solution. But a lot of people have pools now. And it's a nice thing to be able to cool off in the summer.
Oof.
It's a great way to exercise too. The gyms that I've been to, the pools are always full. Winter, summer, doesn't matter. People are swimming. You want the best physique? Swimming. That's a thing to do. All right, so we've got the burning platform coming up in just a little while.
It's not
we're
good
going,
for the black girl hair magic.
it's not good for any girl. Girls don't like getting their hair wet in the pool. I get it. Like, I understand. You want to look nice, but swimming is good. And in the summer, it's a necessary evil.
Listen, my mom and her friends, it's like the best thing in their lives. The best thing.
I love that. That's such a nice story.
When
How often do
they're
they go?
learning to swim.
Did they take a break during winter?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
but they're going
took-
back.
They're going back. Listen,
Love it.
love it for them.
All right, so coming up in the burning platform in just a short while, and I'm very excited about it. We didn't even do any headlines. Geez, we're still going to get to that. So many things to talk about.
You see how they like.
Oof.
BRICS
All right,
can take
we've
over
got
everything.
Godfrey Madanhire, who's going to be joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about Pan-Africanism, the rest of the continent, obviously Zimbabwe. It's a big story. Got to hear about what happened in those elections. Canthan will be joining us. So all of that is going to be going on shortly. Oh, listen to this. Lifestyle audits for Cyril Ramaphosa, Paul Mashatile, and South Africa's millionaire ministers are coming soon. That's what they've promised us.
No, listen.
We'll talk about this in the
He
burning
said
platform.
he said in Parliament as a response to one of the questions.
Mm.
He said they have been going on since.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
How
that
can we have millionaire ministers?
he said lifestyle audits. They have had lifestyle audits. I think he said 122 ministers already. Not ministers, MPs or something like that, and public servants.
How can we have
had lifestyle audits?
How can we have millionaire ministers? That really bothers me. All right. Max Sony says, mind you, gee, I saw two peeps driving a municipal vehicle. Both these fools had on a mask and they were the only two in the vehicle. Yeah, well, that's still a thing for idiots. We don't need headlines. We just need more Bajaj information, says Congo Chris. He's obsessed like me. This Bajaj thing is never going to go away. All right. I want lots more Bajaj videos. We're going to be the place that talks about them. All right. So let's just own it. This is a thing we're going to do on the show. Okay, Pumi? We're just going to go with it. And someone who knows how
To
get
order
one,
one.
Get one to come here. We'll put it in our little special entrance area, and everyone can come and gawk and gaze and marvel at the Bajaj. We can test the windows. We can look at the engine. We can see where you put storage, if there is any space for storage, how you sit.
Can't be. There's no space for storage.
I'm so excited.
It's
about
not the
this.
thing you
Gotta
call
get
to
one.
take home when you've been shopping.
I think we need George.
Meaning.
George will get us a Bajaj to test it. I'm going to ask him.
Yes, where's George?
Yeah, George, come on.
Make it happen for us.
We need a
buddy.
Bajaj parked outside here. We can even brand it with Auto Trader and make a video.
Make it happen for
Come
us,
on.
buddy.
Bajaj is the new air fryer, says Ted. That's so right. That's so right. Imagine a Gareth Cliff Show branded Bajaj. This must take place.
It'll ferry people from the
Can you
gate to
imagine?
it'll ferry people from the gate to the festival.
And we have this little road inside, but there's some narrow passages so a car couldn't fit down, but a Bajaj could. Maybe we just need how much they cost. I mean, look, wait, I want to
Let's look.
Let's just do this quickly. We've got to see how much for a Bajaj.
No, but you've got to say cute. You've got to
Cute,
say
yeah,
this
yeah. Gotta
particular model
much
because
for a Bajaj?
Bajaj is a lot of different things.
Okay, we're looking at 65,000.
What?
Hmm.
65,000.
That's quite a lot.
That's a lot.
You can buy it on Auto Trader. Here, I'm looking on George's website right now. Everything you need to know, they say.
The cute, really.
65,000.
That's a
That's
lot.
what we're looking at. Or it costs, 65,000 after a discount of 10,000. The deal's valid until April the 30th of next year, according to their Facebook page. Company provides finance, but you'll need to put down a deposit of 1,500 to 2,000 rand. So you could probably do that.
Hmm.
I mean, for some people, this is a solution.
This is a solution.
We've got to be realistic about it. Here we are mocking them and making fun of them, but this could be a thing for people. Oh, Ryan says they're 85,000 rand.
Yeah,
That
there's
must
a
be-
10,000 rand discount.
Yeah, but
Right.
then, I mean, do you get the platinum package
With the
Bajaj?
electric windows.
Do you get the cheapest chips Bajaj with everything stripped out from the? That's so great. All right,
We
next
need
time
George Meany.
we need George Meany. We got to get hold of him. I'll talk to him. We're going to talk to him tomorrow anyway, so we'll see what we can do. All right, it is 7:00. We'll be back in just a moment. CliffCentral.com. The Burning Platform is next.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
There is a new brand that is it's worth the most. So what let's first define what makes a brand worth the most in terms of like the value of a car company.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can call it the value of the brand as much as you can call it its market cap on a stock exchange.
People don't, what does that even mean though? I think is that
well, it's how much people are willing to buy the stock for.
Yeah.
This.
I mean, historically, Toyota and Tesla have been kind of at the top, and I think VW have been at the very top. VW for a lot of reasons. I mean, they own a lot of brands. One, Tesla because it's kind of the fastest growing company, well, one of the fastest growing companies in the world. And then So where do these guys come in? Who are they first and foremost?
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Which person doesn't like sugar?
Yeah, no, everyone likes sugar. Now, when our clients come to me and they say, I don't eat sugar, what they really mean is they don't put sugar in their coffee or they don't go and eat a chocolate every day, but there's sugar in everything. There's sugar in processed foods. There's sugar in breads. There's sugar in sauces. Sugar is hiding everywhere. And sugar's in alcohol. Sugar's in everything. And this is the underlying issue of most lifestyle diseases today, is the amount of sugar we think we're not eating, that's hiding in places.
That was the Tea Health Show, empowering you with knowledge. Download all previous episodes on your favorite podcast platform. The Tea Health Show is brought to you by Tea Clinic.
All right, it is Thursday morning and it is time for the Burning Platform. We always welcome an interesting guest from somewhere in the world, and we also have this morning with us Canthon Pillay as well, who is our regular comrade on the Burning Platform, where we take on all the stories of the week. Pumi Mashiko's here too, and we welcome Godfrey. It's very nice to have you here, Godfrey. What a pleasure to have you. Godfrey Madanhire, who is, I'll put up your Twitter handle in a moment, a professional speaker. He's a leadership expert and author, entrepreneur, producer, and host of a podcast called The African Passport, which seeks to promote Pan-Africanism and the integration of the African continent. You've got an uphill battle ahead of you there, especially with South Africa, I'm afraid. What can I say, Godfrey? He was born in Zimbabwe. He's permanently moved to SA 23 years ago. He strongly believes that we've been portrayed as a dark continent, a home to war and poverty, and he says it is our responsibility as African citizens to help change the narrative and position us as an equal global partner, which is an admirable charge indeed. So did I get that brief CV right? Are you happy with that?
Thank you very much, Gareth, and thank you very much for having me on the Burning Platform. Let's get it burning.
Absolutely. There's a lot to cover here. Canthon, nice to see you. How are you?
I'm always awesome.
Let me turn on your
And,
microphone. That would help.
You know that apropos of swimming, that in order to graduate from Princeton when I went there, you needed to pass a swimming test.
You did?
Yes. And the reason for that was that there was once a undergraduate who drowned, shortly after joining there. And so learning how to swim became compulsory. And I think it's something that needs to happen.
How do you know when someone's been to Princeton?
They tell you.
Yeah. Unlike you to bring up your fantastic Ivy League education. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that are going on this week. Godfrey, Kanthan, Pumi, there's a lot to talk about, but let's start off with the obvious reason why you may be an expert in this field, or certainly why we want your commentary, is the Zimbabwean elections and the fact that 3 presidents, we know Mozambique, South Africa, and one other, I'm not sure who, pitched up at Enoch Godongwana's, Emerson, because I saw Enoch here in my notes. We're going to talk about him in a minute when it comes to tax. But Emerson Mnangagwa's house, and congratulated him. And Fikile Mbalula was there, making friends and influencing people and taking pictures for his Instagram. How do you feel these elections went? And what do you think the real story out of Zimbabwe is? We've got very, very disparate opinions about this in South Africa. But what is your take on this, Godfrey?
All right. I think, yes, like you mentioned, it was, very few presidents who made their way to Zimbabwe for the inauguration of President Emerson Mnangagwa, popularly known as ED. Obviously, we had the former president of Zambia.
It's also popularly known as the crocodile. I just wish to point out.
Sorry, that's right. He's also known as the crocodile, right?
Oh, yes. No, that's correct. That's correct. That's the name he carried during the liberation struggle. And we had, former president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu, and they obviously, long-time friends with Zanu-PF, which is the ruling party. So it was not surprising to see him there. We had, the president of, from Mozambique, Felipe Nyusi, maybe because also they're expecting elections, coming through. We had, President Cyril Ramaphosa. For me, it was actually a surprise, to see President Cyril Ramaphosa making his way to the inauguration. They wanted as many presidents, to come through to try and, sanitize, the elections. You had the president, Tshisekedi from DRC, I think he was also there. And, a surprise guest for me, was the former, first lady, which is my Grace Mugabe, because we know when President Robert Mugabe was still alive, and President Emerson Mnangagwa was still the vice president, they used to fight, a lot openly. And for us to see her embracing him now, and we also know that even just before President Robert Mugabe passed on, he went out in the public and he denounced the president of Emerson Mnangagwa, and he openly said he was going to vote for the opposition. So I don't know if we would say she's singing for a supper, but it was very surprising for me.
Maybe she's just singing for that Manolo Blahnik bag she was holding.
Yeah, she's just she's after Manolo Blahnik bag. So just tell me, Godfrey, there are people who say, fine, this is all good and well. Was the election free and fair? I mean, people ask this about the US election now, so it's not an unfair question. What do you say to that?
It's when you assess an election, I think you need to start from even the the pre-election period. You look at the election period and the post-election period. Just briefly, if we look at the pre-election period, if we compare what happened in 2018 and what happened in 2023 now, the pre-election period was a bit better for the opposition, because they were allowed to campaign. They even went into some of the strongholds for the ruling party, Zanu-PF. We also know that some of their rallies were cancelled. The Zimbabwe Republic Police could not allow them to hold those rallies, which is something that is not surprising. They're very limited coverage by the public broadcaster, which is Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. And again, that is not surprising. It's very common in Zimbabwe, unlike in South Africa, where you have many channels, and if the opposition is not happy with the public broadcast, they can always engage the services.
Yeah, they've got no chance of doing that in Zim, right?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. There's nothing like that. There is a monopoly of the airwaves, if we can put it that way.
And Godfrey, can you give us a feeling about how Zimbabweans in South Africa feel about this election? Because there are a huge number of people who are from Zimbabwe, like you, who live in South Africa now. Many of those people have moved here permanently. You got here 23 years ago. But some people are still coming across today. And, we had JJ Tabane say last week, Zimbabwe must sort itself out. This is not our problem. And why should we care about this? South Africa is being burdened by Zimbabwe's banana republic government. We have to accommodate Zimbabweans in this country. That's not how many of us feel. But that's certainly what he said last week. How do you think Zimbabweans in South Africa are feeling about this election?
Yeah, now I think I can say Zimbabweans in the diaspora, because I think the feeling is the same. Everyone wants a change. I know people think it is easy for people to leave their home, to leave Zimbabwe, and be in an unfamiliar environment, away from home, and of course we get used to it. But home will always be home. Everyone wants to go back home, and that can only be possible if things change for the better. So it's an open secret, that most Zimbabweans that are outside the country, we're hoping for change, and it's unfortunate, it didn't happen.
Godfrey,
myself,
yes. Godfrey,
yes,
I hear you saying that a lot of people outside, a lot of Zimbabweans who are out in the diaspora, who are all over the world, are hoping for change. Now, just hoping for change isn't going to affect a change. What is it that Zimbabweans are actively doing every day to come to a place of change? So it's also not going to be a single act of showing up on election day to get change. But we don't see that. I think it's the reason why JJ says what he says. Everybody is kind of feeling a little bit of an exasperation with Zimbabweans that says Zimbabweans actually like what's going on in Zimbabwe because they're not doing enough to change it.
Okay, there's a lot that Zimbabweans in the diaspora are doing, which might not be out there in the public. I can tell you now, for instance, even this new opposition party, CCC, this is a party that was formed out of the movement for democratic change. When obviously they left the party, they were forced out of the party, and they had to come up with another party. They didn't have any funding, and who funded that? That organization, or who is funding that organization? It's people that are in the diaspora. People in the diaspora, they might not have gone back home to vote, and they were not obviously given the chance to vote while they're outside the country, and that is something that probably should be looked at in future. But they had an influence in making sure that be it their families, their parents back home, they vote, and they vote wisely. But the conditions on the ground were not as easy. I'll tell you openly about my mother. We have a family WhatsApp group, where we talk, and we talk about anything and everything. But once I start talking about politics, she doesn't comment. I don't even know how she voted. In as much as I wanted to, to educate her, to understand. Once I start that subject, I know she will just disappear. She will just blue tick me. So it's because.
Do you feel it's enough? Do you feel it's enough?
I think we're trying under the circumstances. I think we're trying our best. But we can't just blame Zimbabweans, or we can't just say maybe Zimbabweans are not doing enough. Now we have a situation where Some people are even saying maybe South Africa is actually happy with what is happening in Zimbabwe. If the ruling party,
Zimbabweans are happy. But Zimbabweans are happy. So I hear what you're saying, that they have funded it, but they didn't go back to vote. They didn't, all of those things. You want other people to do the heavy lifting on your behalf. So you are just as happy with what's happening in Zimbabwe. If you are willing for other people to get hurt and you will not get hurt. I think as South Africans, one of the things that we look at and we think about our experience, if we think about the number of South Africans who abroad, and you say South Africa, Zimbabweans in the diaspora are doing stuff, but it's not in the mainstream. If you think about South Africans when they were abroad and all over the world, they were everywhere. They were agitating. That is why all over the world, people know about what was happening in this country, and they were able to rally behind what was happening in this country. Zimbabweans are okay to, maybe they are far from home, but they are comfortable in their restaurant jobs in South Africa.
Bumi, if I say now South Africa or the ruling party ANC is happy with what is happening in Zimbabwe, will you agree with me?
I think so.
Yes, they are. But they have South Africa. And Zimbabweans have Zimbabwe. And Zimbabweans are also happy with what's happening.
But you know what,
there.
Pumi and Godfrey and Canthan, and frankly everybody else, we all know that we've got a diaspora of our own all over the world. We're sitting here criticizing Zimbabwe, which is fair in some ways. I don't mind that. We don't need to be super sensitive about it. And I think Godfrey's trying to field these questions without actually having a mandate from all Zimbabweans. He doesn't represent a whole lot of Zimbabweans. He's just speaking as one person.
But does their president?
No, but South Africans are also spread all over the world because there are so few economic opportunities for them here.
The difference is that we are allowed to vote from anywhere in the world, Gareth. So
yeah, okay,
which is a big difference.
Fair enough. I wonder how many people take advantage of that.
Actually, quite a few. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, there were several 100,000 votes that in the 2019 elections. Certainly, they were.
Yes,
they were at the time. Look, can I toss in a couple of viewpoints out here, and let's get comments from our guests on this. So one of the things goes back to the time that we had a situation where it was very clear that Morgan Tsvangirai had won the election.
Yeah.
And
that was when Bob was still alive.
When Bob was still alive. And the stuff up on Tsvangirai's part at the time was really what he should have done, was stepped up to the plate and say, thank you to the people of Zimbabwe for this mandate that I've been given. And I would like to extend the hand of friendship to the armed forces of Zimbabwe and to assure them that they service to this country will continue unchecked during our time. Instead, he went to the rest of the world and said, I won the elections and they won't let me be president.
Where?
Exactly. So, instead of at that time taking the bull by the horns, there was a stuff up. So Mbeki then brokered the deal that saw Mugabe as president and Tsvangirai as prime minister. And Mugabe then said to him,
their own little coalition.
Yeah, but he said, Mugabe then said to Tsvangirai, listen, guy, now that you've got the authority that you need, go to your Western backers and tell them to now start giving us money and start lifting sanctions. And Tsvangirai did that, and everyone extended the middle finger to him. And so Bob said, aha, you see. And Bob then went to the Chinese, who then gave Bob $1 billion, and the rest kind of became history from that point onwards. So, the first thing is that the opportunity has been there in the past, but actual strength of leadership on the part of the opposition has actually been lacking. And to a large extent, it still does so to this day, because, the extent of the impact of geopolitics upon Zimbabwe is not actually interrogated by the opposition. Everything is all about the corruption of Zanu-PF. And make no mistake, Zanu-PF is corrupt in exactly the same way as the ANC is corrupt.
I just feel like it's become like a running gag now. When people talk about failed states and they talk about basket cases, they talk about Zimbabwe now all over the world. It came up. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Venezuela and Zimbabwe are the names that come up all the time, not Afghanistan, It's Zimbabwe and Venezuela. And
Although there are lots of things in Zimbabwe that actually work a lot better than they do out here.
Well, you go there often.
I go there often, as you're fully aware. So the electricity situation is significantly better in Zimbabwe than it is out here, as a very good example.
Right.
I'm very happy to walk the streets of Harare without fear of getting mugged.
Yeah,
is another good example. So, and there are many parts of Zimbabwe where there are people who are living in absolute comfort and enjoying a fabulous lifestyle. And I'm talking very specifically in this case about white South Africans who have migrated to Zim and actually enjoy a quality of life that's second to none at a number of levels.
And there are lots of South Africans who've also gone to Zambia, Namibia, Botswana.
Yes.
Right.
Now the question in terms of what could be done to fix Zimbabwe, and I'm going to hand back to you in a second, but I just wanted to make this point apropos of the single thing that holds back Zimbabwe right now is its inability to get access to hard currency.
Okay.
Now there was a moment of opportunity back when Tito Mboweni was governor. And at the time, when you might remember the $1 trillion bills that Zim was printing at the time.
Sure.
And at that point, Mugabe first approached South Africa and said, we'd like to make use of the rand as our currency. And there was an opportunity there for Tito to actually grasp that and say, yes.
You think it would have been a good decision?
It would have been a good decision. Look, essentially, the rand is the de facto currency of Zimbabwe. It is.
Not the dollar.
No, the reason why they end up needing dollars out there is because of the fact that the only way you can buy fuel in the country right now is through dollars. And again, the reason for that is that they have to import their fuel in dollars. So, but like I said, the rand is the de facto currency, but it goes through the entire process of the gatekeepers in government then being able to decide who's actually able to get access to hard currency.
Okay.
So when we have a situation now where we actually end up having a means of interchange, and this is what we spoke about in terms of BRICS, that's going to make a seismic difference in the lives of Zimbabweans. And at that point, things are going to change quite drastically. So I think right now, focusing on whether the elections were free and fair, I think to speak of free and fair elections in most parts of the world right now
is moot point. Yeah, okay.
So, but there's also a level of energy. We have a friend who's in asset management, and she also goes to Zimbabwe quite a lot, and she talks a lot about the infrastructure development that's happening and the kind of investment they're able to attract into Zimbabwe versus what they can attract here, and the energy in Zimbabwe. So
okay, Godfrey, and those just last thing, those flights that I'm on to Zim, okay, they are always filled with white Afrikaners who are generally working in the mining sector.
Mines and infrastructure.
Yes, mines and infrastructure.
All right. So, Godfrey, your comments on all of that. There was a lot there.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Kenthan, you spoke about the government of national unity, that came through when Morgan Tsvangirai was still alive. And if I listen to you clearly, you believe they didn't get to achieve, what they wanted. But, I'll argue with you and say, life was actually much better. If you talk to a lot of Zimbabweans right now, and, they look back at that GNU and they feel, things improved, a great deal. Now, are you saying the opposition was supposed to, they won the election and they're supposed to, get into power and not accept, that deal? But I'll tell you now that things are very different on the ground when it comes to Zimbabwean politics. Now, what is different between what happened then and what's happening now is the fact that, for instance, for the first time, we have SADC has a backbone. We know that normally happens when it comes to West Africa, with ECOWAS, they can come out and they can confront issues. But with SADC, most leaders, that are obviously from the liberation movements, they tend to, team up and support each other, protect each other, and they don't come up openly. Now they came out openly and they said, this election was not, it fell short of the requirements of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, the Electoral Act, and the SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections. We had 68 observers that were deployed by by SADC, about 5 of them that went to each province, and the report that they came up with was actually damning. The African Union itself, again, African Union, they are very diplomatic. They don't say things as they are, but for the first time, they agreed. We know with SADC, they said, they complained about the high registration fees. Look, to contest in this election, for someone to become a president, they had to fork out $20,000 US. And that's unheard of. You must understand that in the previous elections, one had to pay about $1,000.
That's pretty much what I paid in order to register the political
Yeah,
party.
that's what we pay here as well, Canton says.
Yeah, so $20,000 US dollars
at the time.
Yeah, and MPs, I think it was $1,000, and these are people that if they win and they become members of parliament, they're going to be earning something like $200 US. So you ask yourself, does it really make sense? It doesn't make sense. But that's what happened. We also have even the European Union. They came through. I think we listened to Joseph Borrell. He says no, the election was conducted in a climate of fear. Obviously, the U.S. Department of State spokesperson, Matthew Miller, he also said, as the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission officials, forced observers to sign, altered polling station results. So, with all these people that are coming out and they're saying, the election was not free and fair.
You
that's
know
the
what?
difference.
I mean, I think that horse is bolted. So I think we should leave it at that. And once again, Zimbabwe gets put on the back burner for another couple of years, I'm afraid. So Godfrey, I want you to stay on and comment on some of the stories here in South Africa, because I know you follow the news and you know a lot about what's going on here, and I'd like to have your opinion on these too. First thing, Pumi's just told me now, Raymond Ackerman just died. Of course, a giant of South African business. Someone who's had an enormous impact on the retail sector. He's been a very powerful businessman, an influence on business in this country. And obviously, I think a loss, even though he wasn't actively involved in business for at least the last 20 years. Anything you want to add?
But many people still walk into a Pick and Pay.
Oh, Pick and Pay. Yeah. I mean, that's him. That's the man. So Raymond Ackerman.
Because he actually died this time, because
Yes.
the last time around there was
the fake news.
Release that was put out.
I read it that you died once as well, Canton, but I see you here. So
No, I died and went to heaven, and here I am.
Apparently, he passed away yesterday. This is it's an article in the Daily Maverick.
How old is
that's
he? In
just
his
come
90s,
through.
huh?
In his 90s.
Yeah. All right. Well, I thought that was an important piece of news. Speaking of people who've made lots of money, there's a billionaire. This is in the news now as well. Michiel Leroux, who's pumping millions of rands into South Africa's main opposition, the Democratic Alliance. He's also supported Herman Mashaba's Action SA, My Money's Build One SA. The EFF did not declare any donations. The Democratic Alliance have had to acknowledge over 22 million rand in donor funding. The ANC acknowledged 20 million.
There's a new name on that Action SA list. Did you see?
Who's that?
Have you got I don't have the list in
I don't
front
have the
of me, and
complete list,
she-
no.
An individual
Yes.
who put in almost 7.5 million rand in
Wow.
the last quarter into Action SA.
Wow.
So they are soliciting enough support, because as we know, you need deep pockets to
You
run
need
an
deep
election.
pockets. But then this is, in America, for example, party funding is just through the roof. The amounts of money are astronomical. In South Africa, how do you think it should? How do you think it should work?
In the States, they have a big machinery around funding, but they also have lots of individual donors. And I think Barack Obama was one of the first ones who spoke quite openly about how he was able to solicit lots of small donations
Well, that was
from individuals. I think this is
that was the
something
first real
that
crowdfunding that happened in politics.
And South Africa also needs a lot more of that. You know, we have a lot of lip service of people who feel that there are lots of billionaires pulling the strings of politicians, but people are not willing to sign a stop order to give 100 Rand a month to whatever political party they believe in. Kanthan, very famously, you guys funded your own party.
Yes, we did. That was, and of course, we took the extraordinary step of listing every single donation on the website.
Which I think should be the way all parties behave from now on. So we can see who the major funders are and find out whether or not they are exercising influence on those parties.
But very seriously, also South Africans.
Yes, Godfrey?
Yes, Godfrey?
No, I was just about to say, I think, it is obvious, when someone invests in a party, they fund them, they're expecting something in return. Let's just be, honest about it. I don't think they just, donate for the sake of it.
But Godfrey, and you made a point a little bit earlier that people were expected to register for $1,000 and they only earn $200 back. And one of the problems that we have across the continent is kleptocracy. And it is exactly that kind of thinking that people go into government to become rich or to make money. You go into government to serve your country. You go into government to make a better place in your country. That's what you get in return. What you get in return is good policies that allow and you don't have to be in politics forever. You can go into government and public service for a period of time and then go into private sector where you make your millions. But you can't expect to make millions in the public service. That money is supposed to be for the betterment and upliftment of our country, not for people to become rich.
In which part of the world, Pumi?
Yeah, that's a little idealistic.
I would like to visit
it's okay that it is okay that it is idealistic.
Godfrey says he's happy to move to that country as well.
Oh, of course. Godfrey is happy to leave anywhere that's not serving him to a place that will serve him instead of fixing where he should be.
Well, isn't that the way of the world at the moment? People can move wherever they want, surely.
Gareth, can we get Godfrey's take on what's happening in West Africa? Because I don't want us to get too idealistic.
But I don't want to leave this alone yet, because Michiel Leroux is the guy who started Capitec Bank.
Yes.
He's worth $1 billion. He can put his money wherever he likes. I prefer the fact that he's actually reinvesting in South Africa rather than putting it in some Swiss bank account.
Because that's where his market is.
Yes, but that's exactly the point. So you look after your own, you clean your own house, right? I agree. No, I agree. But I do think it's interesting too that we're living in a country where Pumi says we must crowdfund political parties, that people don't have money.
People must fund their own freedom.
Enoch Godongwana, who's on your WhatsApp group, Pums, the finance minister.
It's a rumor at this stage because he hasn't said nothing.
The finance minister has hinted at possible tax increases because we're broke as a country. This is the rumor that's spreading around now to fund the government's
economy.
Growing expense bill. Godongwana said South Africa's economic growth and tax revenue had been stifled by the energy and rail crisis. Oh, you don't say. And I wonder whose fault that is, which has reached record levels of load shedding and logistics backlogs. Godongwana, and by the way, I'm so sick of trucks on the highway. I'm so up to here with trucks. Okay. I know that they have no option because our rail system is disastrous. But
you saw Portia Derby's performance. Portia Derby's performance there at Transnet this past weekend.
Transnet are running now at a huge loss. They were running at a huge profit. Anyway, they want to increase taxes, which is challenging and unpopular, to say the least. Borrow more money, which is there are only so many people in the world who are dumb enough to lend our government money. And then budget cuts, which also have limitations before hurting the system. No. We can do lots of budget cuts in this country. They just don't want to do them. So any comments on that before we move on from money to West Africa?
Well, the most logical thing that we should be doing is raising VAT, but our government will not do that.
Because it's unpopular and hits everybody equally.
Yes.
If we raised VAT, if you were in charge now, what would you propose? How much?
Look, even
we're at what, 15% now?
Yeah, we're on 15. Yeah, push it up to 16.
That's all? 1 percentage point? How much do you think it would bring in?
Well, let's take a look at the last budget stuff, and I'm just heading
Well,
across.
There's a midterm coming up budget.
While Kanthan's
up
looking
in a
that up,
couple of-
do you think that's a good plan for me?
No, I don't think it's a good plan because I don't think throttling our economy any further, where we know that the consumer is already cash strapped.
You say
We
no
know-
more tax.
No.
No more tax.
In fact, I think that what they need to be doing is they need to be looking at places where they can ease up on the tax for people to allow more money into the environment.
Godfrey, what's your take on this?
Obviously, if we go with Kenthan's idea of increasing VAT, I'm telling you, I can assure you, we will have some protests, people running into the streets, because that's going to affect, your.
We have
person.
daily protests in this country, in almost every part of the country. It doesn't get reported
We
in
can't afford
our
more.
mainstream media.
We can't afford more.
All right. Have you found the numbers?
No, I haven't found the numbers.
All right. While you're looking for that, there's
yeah.
still other stuff we got to get to before we can move to West Africa. They're going to do lifestyle audits. Pumi and I briefly mentioned this. The president himself has said they're going to do a lifestyle audit on him and on the deputy president and members of the cabinet. But it's taking longer than planned. Surprise, surprise. Addressing the National Assembly on Tuesday, he said lifestyle audits for public servants in government have been compulsory since March 2021. And over 11,000 public servants have gone through the process.
Yeah, he did say, see, there was a number.
Can we see those?
11,000, I thought it was 100 and something.
Why isn't that published? Why can't we see what our supposed leaders, our representatives have in terms of hard assets and where their money is?
What I'm more interested in is who are the people that get targeted? Why is it these 11,000 nameless, faceless people instead of starting at the top? Why are we not starting at the top?
We should, if you are in government.
It seems to me to be a tool of keeping people in check. Kind of like the way Eskom is now doing a probe
We know
into
this.
whistleblowers rather than what has been whistleblown on.
This is like Joe Biden going after Elon Musk for trying to build a glass house in Austin, Texas. It's the same thing. You punish your political enemies. So it seems that no politicians are above that.
One of these days, I think we're going to be having a conversation about how the SIU is a political tool there in the
Absolutely, it
presidency.
is. Absolutely,
There
it
in
is.
the presidency to keep people in line.
Well, some people say lifestyle audits are a waste of time. You're just giving money to consulting firms.
So anyway, figures.
Okay,
So
here we go.
Tax revenue 2023-24, 640 billion came from personal income tax, 471.5 billion from VAT, and 336 billion from corporate income tax. So
it's exactly the opposite of the amount of say we have in the economy. People who are paying personal income tax have the least say in the economy.
Correct.
Businesses have the most say in the economy and contribute only third place.
Yes.
And the average person in the population who is not necessarily taxed on their income, but has to pay for, general transactions.
Yes, but the reason for that is it's inversely proportional to the amount of power that you actually have.
Correct.
So in the case of personal income tax, because we have no way of actually doing a tax revolt, because our PAYE gets deducted before we receive our salaries. So we're not able to protest at that point. So that's the way it works. But by my very basic calculation right now, so from 471 billion rand, a 1% increase in that would then push the tax revenues up to 502 billion rand, that 1 percentage point increase. Which,
do you think that'll be enough to cover all the graft and corruption?
No,
and
it
thieving?
certainly will not be enough to cover graft and corruption, but it'll certainly make a dent in the cost of the diesel that we are needing to burn to keep the economy ticking over.
It is interesting. I think everybody's realized this, that during BRICS, load shedding was very much curtailed. It wasn't as big a problem.
Well, they burnt massive amounts of diesel in order to keep it going. And, this is something that we've spoken about before, that we can continue burning diesel if we raise the price of electricity. But whenever we try raising the price of electricity, we have all of these action groups that turn around and say, no, you're not allowed to raise the price of electricity. So,
well, I don't know about you, but my bills for utilities went up almost doubled.
Sure.
In the last couple of weeks. Well, last month before. Is that normal? Should we be anticipating that every couple of months?
So
I think we should be anticipating that. But remember, the positive spin-off of this is
positive.
Yeah,
not to my bank balance.
No, Gareth.
This is exactly what Cyril said yesterday. That we should be looking at this positively.
The positive spin-off on this is that it's forcing more and more people off grid.
Yeah,
that is a positive spin-off, guys. You should not underestimate how important this is. Getting people off grid, so that they then accepting personal responsibility for generating their own energy in their home space means that there's less money for Eskom to end up stealing. And the rolling blackouts will continue to be a thing. But remember, at the same time, there's lack of enforcement around people who don't pay, which is, again, a nettle that the government is not prepared to grasp.
Right. Okay, you wanted
So while we talk about electricity, do you know
Pumps.
where our Minister of Electricity was?
Is this
week
Sputla Ramakgopa?
after all the dancing?
He was chatting with an attractive woman about green energy.
What's
So
this?
he's already doing a bad job being the Minister of Electricity because he
clearly.
really hasn't done much, hasn't made a dent.
I only
in
make
what we have.
assumptions
And
that
now
she's
he
attractive
is-
because he was chatting to her.
And now, as of yesterday, he has been made chairperson of the Africa Green Hydrogen Alliance.
Oh, I don't know if we're meant to.
He's
what,
in Nairobi as we speak.
Do we applaud
getting-
now or?
So he's already doing a bad job, one bad job, and now he's accepting more responsibility
So he can do
to
two
spread
bad jobs.
himself. To
Are,
spread
are you
himself.
excited about this, Godfrey? Does this make a difference in your life?
Obviously, yeah. It in terms of the load shedding.
No, just does it? Do you care? Do you give a fisherman's fuck, to use that terminology, about our Minister of Electricity being put in charge as chairperson of some hydrogen energy group? Or is this just another talk shop that's going to result in nothing? I think it's a yes or no question.
I don't think it does much, for an ordinary person on the ground. Talking about the Minister of Electricity, it was exciting. It was. I don't know whether I should use the word exciting, but when he was appointed, everyone was hopeful. That things will change.
I wasn't.
No,
I
you
was
see,
not.
That's a very Zimbabwean take on this.
But he came with a good track record, and because of that,
How?
people
He ran Swane for a while and ran it badly. I don't see his good track record.
Have
No,
we lost Godfrey?
no, he doesn't know the answer to
Are
that.
we
but
talking? Are we
I remember because I live in Swane and he was our mayor for a time, and he was a terrible mayor. Part of
we
what we're
talking ECOWAS?
dealing with right now is in Swane is as a result of that mismanagement under his administration. So no, I don't think he had a good track record.
What did
Godfrey.
JJ say last week? An absolute pleasure. JJ had a very funny term about the mess that was left at Swane for the DA to.
I can't remember, but it's worth re-listening just to find that
Please
term.
listen.
All right, so we want to talk ECOWAS. Why is this pertinent to you, Kansan? What's important there?
It's not ECOWAS specifically,
But Western Africa?
It's just generally the stuff that's happening in West Africa right now. And so, I don't know if you followed what happened in Chad over the past couple of days. So essentially, France has had troops stationed in a significant chunk of Francophone Africa for the longest time. This week, there was an altercation between a Chad citizen and some of the French troops stationed out there, and this Chad citizen was killed by the French troops. So there's now an uprising in Chad to get the French troops out of the country. So now there's actually a pattern that's emerging in most of Francophone Africa.
Yeah, JJ Cornish told us about this on Tuesday and said that the French Prime Minister has said that the ambassador must stay there. Stay there. He's got important work to do, and the troops are not going anywhere.
Well, I think what's pretty much going to be the situation is that the French troops are going to have great difficulty feeding themselves, on the assumption that they're pretty much encircled and they're not able to come and go as they please. Very much so in the case of the French ambassador as well. I'll be very interested to see how that actually plays out. The interesting thing for me in terms of the coup government right now in Niger, is that they're very much playing by the rules in terms of diplomacy. So, they've been issuing official communiques to the French government and saying we've actually no longer recognize your ambassador and you need to withdraw him from the country.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's I would
They
suspect.
did sorry, but they did put out a statement of that nature.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that was many weeks
All
ago.
right, so Godfrey, your comments on this, Chad, Niger, what do you think's going on here?
Yeah, no, I think there is a wave of these coups taking place in West Africa. We know in Niger from July 2023, they ousted Bazoum, and General Chiam came through, and it's not just there. In Guinea again, I think in 2021 September, Mamadi Doumbouya came through in Sudan, Abdel Fattah in 2019, in Burkina Faso. I know a lot of ladies, they love Ibrahim Traore. We saw him when he went to Russia for those talks. He was all over social media. In Mali, Assimi Goïta came through in 2021 when they got rid of Boubacar Keïta. In Gabon, we have General Brice. But if you look at all these coups, they are trying to, like what Kenton said, they're trying to be very diplomatic. They're trying to avoid, the word coup. I think it started with Zimbabwe when they ousted Robert Mugabe. They said it was a coup. That was not a coup. Obviously, because they were trying to avoid the sanctions that come through with them officially, saying, this is a coup and we're taking over. But if there's something interesting that is coming out of these coups, like what Kenton said, I think we can say that in Gabon and in Niger, France is the French government is under a lot of pressure. They are pushing them out, and this is something that does not sit well with them, because they stand to benefit a lot out of some of these countries that are very rich when it comes to oil. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how it pans out, and for one to think that it is a solution to come up with these coups, I don't think it's something that we really need to celebrate. Even though
it certainly,
if you go to
it certainly makes
now,
it makes your job as a Pan-Africanist that much harder, because it seems like something that we just have not graduated out of yet. The peaceful transfer of power just does not seem to be a thing in parts of this continent still.
It's not going away, anytime soon. And if you look at it, there's always there are always reasons, that people come through. In some of these countries, they are saying, no, you're not handling these Islamic insurgents, very well. In Gabon, they said no. It was just an hour after the election results were announced. And they just didn't want President Ali Bongo to continue. And this is a family that has been in power since I think 1967. It's
That's right.
If your father dies, someone comes up and they continue like that.
More than half a century that family have been in charge in Gabon.
Yes, and I'm sure you saw even on social media when they got arrested. Even his son, when he was arrested, they had millions and millions of money in their suitcases, and you start
yes.
Yes, and I think Pumi said earlier on that you get into power so that you can save, which is a very noble thing to say, but in reality that's not what is happening. They get in power so that they can enrich themselves.
Yeah, that is the flaw that we currently have as a continent, and we have too much patience. We have too much patience with thieving leaders. We have too much patience with individuals. And also, we have too much patience with allowing the worst of us, quite honestly, to ascend to these positions. But it's not a noble ideal. I mean, Norway has the biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world, and they look after their people. Like, it's not a noble ideal.
But let's not forget that the way in which Norway actually ended up getting access to that sovereign wealth fund was basically because of oil wealth, which they're now trying to prevent the rest of the world who actually have oil reserves.
Yeah, I mean, we should be doing that.
From actually exploiting. Niger, just to put this in perspective, they were selling uranium to France at 80 cents a kilogram. 80 as in, cents in the euro. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, so it was 0.8 euros. What they have now done is they have pushed the price of uranium to France to 200 euros per kilogram.
Right.
And we know exactly how that goes.
Yeah, which is
they've just replaced the people who were there with suitcases of dollars in their
now the other issue, guys, and again, this is in terms of actual control of monetary policy. Do some reading on the CFA, Frank. There's a fairly extensive Wikipedia entry on it. But essentially, France has controlled the economies of all of these territories because of the fact that France actually issues the currency that gets used in these territories. So the currency is nominally pegged to the euro, and it's at a percentage of the euro. But consider this: you have a colonial power that is responsible for printing your currency and effectively controlling your money supply. But at the same time, they're printing the currency that you make use of, and which pretty much gives them leverage to print as much of it as they want themselves to then use to pay you for the stuff that they are buying from you, which means effectively they are getting all of the stuff for nothing.
And why would these countries keep putting up with that?
Well, because they are occupied countries. I go back to this entire thing that says, if you have foreign troops on your soil, you are an occupied country.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look in terms of geopolitics today, World War II ended, but Europe is still occupied by the Americans. And it has been almost every single country there. You got US troops on the ground.
Correct.
South Korea, you're an occupied country. Japan, you're an occupied country. And it really is as simple as that. Ditto in the case of West Africa.
Yeah.
There are French troops on the ground.
And
you don't
Wagner
have your
troops.
sovereignty. You don't control your currency. You don't have sovereignty.
And now they have Wagner troops too.
And what is does anyone have an update? Perhaps you know this, Godfrey. What's happening with all these Wagner troops since Prigozhin was killed? Are they going to hang around in Africa, wait for a new leader? Are they all going to form little atomized military groups in various places run by warlords? Do we have any updates on what's going on there, especially in places like the Central African Republic, which is
and Mali?
Yeah.
Well,
Pumi?
The Kremlin has appointed a new leader for
Oh,
Wagner.
okay. Well, that's convenient. So he's in charge now.
They continue.
But we all knew that it was not he was not going to get away with it. It was just a matter of time. For when he eventually died, it was expected. I
Eventually,
think I saw it
when his plane mysteriously lost the use of its wing.
You don't play with Putin.
That's exactly right. All right. Before we close this off, we've got 6 minutes left. We have to refer to some of the big international stories. We've mentioned Macron and France already. There's quite a lot going on since BRICS that I think has got people talking. Of course, Lula and
There'll be G20 happening.
there's G20
in
happening
India.
soon. Where do you want to go first? Because we've got limited time here.
G20 is kind of an interesting thing happening right now because, of course, India is hosting the G20.
And she's not going.
No, but she made it very clear the reason why Xi is not going is not because he has a problem with India. Xi has made it very clear that he has no intention of meeting Biden.
Ah, very good.
And it really is as simple as that.
Okay, so he's now written him off.
Yeah, he's written him off. We see consistent reports that come out from the US that Biden has been reaching out to Putin. Putin will not take his calls.
Oh, really?
Or from anyone in the US. Yes.
This has got to be the first time in a long time that a US president's been ignored.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. So the only time that the Russians actually paid attention was at the point at which Biden was visiting Kiev, and the Russians took note and they held off on attacks on Kiev until Biden was able to get out of there. So the back channels are still open, but Putin refuses to take his calls.
Does India have a new name?
India is very possibly, it's not a new name.
It's the name for India.
No, but Bharat has always been the Hindi name of India. And what they're thinking of doing is just
how do we spell that?
Bharat.
Bharat.
Which is actually the name of a king who ruled most of India a few thousand years ago, but renounced his kingdom, adopted Jainism, and went off to become a recluse, having successfully united the country. It's actually quite a
what a story.
It's actually quite a cool story.
So shall we refer to it as Bharat from now on?
Look,
I mean, if we refer to Port Elizabeth as Gqeberha, then why not?
Look, rose by any other name. I think that again, this is something that India was the name that the Brits gave to all of the territories lumped together, which, remember, at the time composed what today became Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal.
Well, it's an ancient word for everything that was east of the Indus River.
No, it isn't that ancient. So the Sanskrit word for the Indus River was Sindhu. Indus River was the name that was put in place by the Aryans who came across from predominantly what's today modern day Iran, and so they conquered as they went along. So the Dravidians, who were my ancestors, who lived in the Indus Valley, then got pushed to the south of India. So yeah, but the Indus, the Pakistan word for it was the Sanskrit word for it was always Sindhu as opposed to Indus. And in fact, it's in the Indian national anthem. It talks about Punjab, Sindhu, Gujarat, Maharashtra, which are various territories. Yeah.
I think it's very nice to be Indian right now. Kenton, I'm sure you agree with me. Because recently, India, obviously, we saw a lot of countries trying to join BRICS, and India is part of that. And now they are hosting the G20 summit. But I think it should be expected. I mean, for a country that is a population of over 1.5 billion people, they should have that kind of influence.
I'm just concerned that the BRICS acronym will have to change, because I was the only vowel in BRICS. Now we've got a bit of a problem.
I think they said it's not going to change.
Egypt. We've got Argentina and Egypt.
So BRICS plus 7. Like that. So
the new BRICS.
BRICS plus 10, depending on the number of countries that join.
You see, the interesting thing that people don't consider about BRICS, guys, and we need to get people to think along these lines. BRICS is not an alliance. Okay, so it's very different to NATO, for example.
Because they're not talking about coming to each other's defense if anyone's attacked.
Absolutely.
They have their own intra.
It's essentially a body that's establishing economic rules for trading among the various member states, and it's a huge difference. So there's no contradiction, for example, between Russia having its what do they call themselves? The CIS. That's their defense equivalent of NATO. India is part of the Quad, which includes the US in the Pacific region. So the military alliances. Godfrey.
But instead talking about things like the seat in the Security Council, United Nations Security Council, which is I think something that is very interesting, because like you said, normally they talk about the economy, and stand there. But now it looks like they are extending, and they're getting to talk about many other things as well outside.
It's isn't it interesting, Godfrey and Canton and Pumi, that the UN has become such an unused term. I don't think anyone's particularly interested in everyone's talking G20, BRICS. The UN is like a relic now, I'm afraid. Don't you think?
The world has changed.
India would, in fact, have been part of the UN Security Council, just in terms of its participation in the Second World War.
Yeah.
If not for the fact that at the time India was part of the British Empire, and so effectively India lost out on having a seat on the UN Security Council at the time. So it essentially became
But
Russia,
my
China.
point is, no one cares about the UN.
Yes, but the Security Council is still, happens to be the place where decisions ultimately get made, and so now it is fundamentally dysfunctional because as long as Russia and China have vetoes, which they do, nothing actually comes out of it.
It's a stalemate.
Yes. So, but you're exactly right, Gareth. There will be increasing reliance on all of these other bodies that effectively define policies at a number of other levels.
Right.
But it's kind of like those climate conferences. They don't really have the power to enforce anything.
Pointless. All right. That's all we got time for. So Godfrey, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's good to have you on the show. And I do hope...
We didn't even get to talk about Godfrey's poetry.
No. But the Burning Platform is no place for poetry, Pumi. But thank you, Godfrey. And we will see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Pumi
much,
and Canton.
it was nice being with you on the Burning Platform. Nice chatting to you, Pumi, Kenthan. We just hope, this spirit of coups doesn't spread into Zimbabwe, where there's also a disputed election. I mean, we had the president of Cameroon, I think he's also afraid that it might come through to him.
Well, hasn't he? He's been there for years as well. Cameroon, right?
Kagame has fired lots of his generals in the past week. Yeah.
Okay. So Paul
reorganized his presidential guard. He was just like, "Don't you get any ideas, niggers?"
All right, we'll end the show on that. All right, thank you very much, Godfrey. Thank you, Pumi and Canton. Cheers, everybody. We will see you tomorrow at 6.